Hey boys and girls, so today we're going over Unit 4, Lesson 1, which is Domain and Range. All right, before we get started, just make sure you have your name at the top and we can jump on in. So as I look at the do now, it says, Andrew was given the ordered pairs shown below by his teacher. Here are all the ordered pairs. Place these ordered pairs into the table below. Well, I can see that the table is asking me to split up these coordinates into X and Y values. Well, I know that X always comes first, so I'm going to go ahead and just label all of those first numerical values as X, and I know that Y comes second, right? I know that a coordinate is X, Y. Now, when I go to fill in this table, I could fill in my X values as 0, 2, -4, -1. I could write them in that order. But think back to when you use a graphing calculator and you pull up a table. Are those numbers typically out of order? No, they're always in numerical order. So that's how I want to write this right now, just for practice. So I know that negatives are obviously smaller than positives, okay? So I'm going to put -4 first because that's my smallest X value. Done. I'm going to put -1 next because that's my next smallest. And then from there, I'm going to go 0, 2. All right, because 0 would be next biggest and 2 is the largest. Now I'm going to go back and add my Y values to those X values that I added to the table. So when X is -4, when X was -4, Y was 8. When X was -1, Y was 3. When X was 0, Y was 1. And when X was 2, Y was 5. So that's how you would fill in that XY table. All right, let's move on underneath to the notes for today. Okay, it says all of our first elements of ordered pairs, those X coordinates, those X values, we're gonna say that that's our domain. And this is part of today's lesson, talking about domain and range. Our domain, those X values from the do now, were -4, -1, 0, and 2. Now be really careful when you write this as a list of numbers, you have to put those little squiggly, squiggly brackets around them. So here we go, a little squiggle on the right, boom, a little squiggle on the left. All right, you want to make sure that that's around your list of numbers. All right, next, if we look, it says all of our second elements, those Y values, those Y coordinates, that would be called your range. Okay, and I can fill out the range again from up top, but if I look at my range right now, all right, is this in number order, right, numerical order? No. So I want to write that out in number order, okay? It's going to be good for you if you get in the habit of doing that now, because like I said earlier, when you take a test, a quiz, or the Regents, this is never out of order when I'm listing those numbers, all right? So I'm gonna write 1, 3, 5, 8, just because again, that's putting it in number order. 1, 3, 5, 8. And again, I wanna put those little like squiggly brackets around my list of numbers. Okay, those little squiggly brackets, again, you use those for what's called set notation. Okay, that's what we're writing on the side here, set notation. Example, in the do now, all of those coordinate points, those would all be considered a set of ordered pairs, okay? And we've learned this in previous lessons. We talked about this in Unit 3. An ordered pair would be an XY coordinate. Another example, if we have a domain of -4, -1, 0, 2, this would be a set of all X values. And then likewise, if we have a range of all of those values, 1, 3, 5, and 8, that was our set of Y values. All right, and again, you can see that we're writing those values in number order. Again, we're writing them in number order. Cool. Let's go to the next page here. All right. So I know that I already got a little bit of a head start here. I just did that to save a little bit of time. So anytime you have to list what the domain and the range are going to be, I always like to ahead of time just highlight out what are my X values, because X represents the domain And I know that x is the first value in each coordinate pair. Same thing, then I'm going back and I wrote, well, I know that the range is the y values. Y is the second value in my coordinate pair. So I just labeled that on each one. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to actually fill in the domain and the range. So if you remember from the first page, I don't just want to write 1, -2, 3. I don't want to just list my domain. I should really be practicing putting it in number order. So I'm going to check. It looks like -2 is my smallest x value because again, it's a negative. So I'm going to put -2 first and then I'll just get bigger from there. So after -2, I would put the value 1. But wait, I actually see 2 1s. And that's okay. If I already have the number 1 here, I do not write it twice. You are not going to write 1, 1. All right, that's illegal. You want to just write it one time and move on from there. All right, my next biggest number is 3. And after that, I see 4. So now I've listed all of my y values in number order. And I'm going to put them in those squiggly brackets. Done. Now I'm going to go back and just do the same thing with the y values for the range, and I finished the whole question. So here we go. I can see -3 is my smallest y value. And it's okay that they listed it 2 times. I'm just going to write it 1 time. Next, I can see that my next biggest value, it looks like is +3. So I'm going to cross that out and write it down. Again, as I'm crossing these out, it's just a helpful visual for me. You guys don't have to do this, but I just like to do that so I know I've used the number, I'm done with it, move on. All right, after +3, I see +5, and then after +5, my last y value is 7. And then again, I gotta go back and add those little squiggly brackets around that list of numbers. All right, without these bad boys, technically your answer is incomplete, so you gotta make sure that you add them on. And we are done with number 1. Let's look at number 2. So number 2, same thing. I'm going to do the x values first for my domain. Here we go. I see -9. I know it's first, but it's actually the smallest x value. So I actually am going to write it first. After -9, I'm getting bigger now. I see -1. All right. After -1, I see 0. Then +1. Then +6. I've listed all of my x values. I'm done. I put it in those squiggly brackets. And I move on to my y values. Again, my smallest y value right now, it looks like is -1. And now I'm just going to get bigger. So from -1, it looks like 0 is next. After 0, I see 2. Then 3. Then 14. All right. And then again, I'm going to put all those answers in squiggly brackets so I can say that I am completely done with example 2. All right, you guys are going to continue this pattern for the rest of this page. So I want you to complete 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 all on your own. All right, so at this point, press pause. And then when you're done, check back for the answers. All right, here are the answers to 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you need to pause the video to get that down, please feel free to do that. All right, again, I know that domain is the x values, and I know that the range is the y values. I'm just writing them in number order, right, numerical order. And then at the bottom here, we have our answers for 7 and 8. All right, make sure you guys are getting all of that down. Send me an email if you have any kind of question. All right, let's keep on going then. Let's go to the last page for today. All right, which is the definition of a function. So it says a function is a set of ordered pairs in which the x value cannot repeat. I want us to go back and just highlight that out because that's really important. It's what makes a function a function. All right, so here we go. If the x values are not repeating, then you do have a function. So let's look at 2 examples down below. It says in the set 1, 4, 3, 6, and 3, 7, the x value 3 repeats. Are you guys seeing that? I have a 3 with a 6 and a 3 with a 7. Again, that is an x value of 3. So because 3 is repeating, that's making that list of coordinate points not a function. So again, the x value 3 is repeating, so that means this is not a function. If we look in our second example, it says in the set 0, 4, 2, 8, 3, 4, we don't have any x values repeat. So this would be a function. This is a function. All right, and then again, I'm going to go back and highlight that out as well. If you guys don't have a highlighter at home, that's no problem at all. I would make sure that you are just underlining or boxing this in your notes. All right, this is huge. All right, so now let's look at some practice questions together. As we look at example 9, it's giving me a list of ordered pairs, right? XY coordinates. It's asking if this represents a function or not, yes or no. Well, we just learned in the notes that a function cannot have x values that repeat. So if x is repeating, then it is not a function. So let's look at example 9. I'm going to go ahead and just underline all of my x values to start. Okay, let's check. 1, -2, 3, 4, 1. Uh-oh, I can see here that the x value 1 is repeating in my first coordinate and my last coordinate. That is not good. That's illegal. So here we go for the function. Is it a function, yes or no? It is absolutely not a function. How come? Because the x value of 1 is repeating. It repeats. All right, and that's not good. If x is repeating, then it is not a function. Just like in this example up top, 3 was repeating, so it was not a function. Let's look at one more. Let's look at example 10. So here we go. First step, I'm going to look at just my x values. Only x tells me if it's a function or not. -9, 6, 0, -1, +1. Pretty good. Doesn't seem like any of my x values are repeating. So I would say, yes, this is a function. And how come? Because there are no x values that repeat. It's the only reason. All right. So now we've seen an example of what is not a function and what is a function. All right, I'm going to go over just one more with you just to make sure we really have it before you finish this page on your own. Let's look at example 11. First step, I'm only going to look at the x values because again, I'm seeing that keyword function. X values tell me if I have a function or not. Let's check. -3, -2, -1, 0, +1. Pretty good. None of those babies repeated, so I would say, yes, this is absolutely a function. How come? Because there were no x values that repeat. All right, boom. I need you guys to finish the rest of this page, numbers 12 all the way through to 16. All right, when you are done, check back. All right, here we go. These are the answers. So again, 11 we had said was a function because there's no x values that repeat. So as we started on number 12, 12 is not a function because the x value -14 repeats. Number 13, this is a function because there are no x values that repeat. Number 14 is not a function. That x value of 2 repeats. All right. And then as we scroll down here to the bottom for 15 and 16, 15 is not a function because that x value of +1 repeats, and 16 is a function because none of these x values repeat. All right, make sure you go to the last page and you get the closure done on your own. You got to make sure that you are answering this completely. And then the same thing with the homework, which is right underneath. Make sure that you are showing all of your work on the homework. You should be listing the domain and range in numerical order, right? That's number order. All right, and then number 5 says to explain your answer, make sure you are using some type of vocabulary when you are explaining.